Issa? Is that me? Oh, shit. Throwback me? This new look is working for us. Do you like this? And we got our braces off. Let me see them teeth. Let me see them teeth. Let me see them teeth. Show me how you eat. We stupid.
See, I might say, baby, here's like money long, been getting paid, huh?
How long did it take for you and Ted to get back? We were fake back before we were back. Child, the jokes I laughed at that weren't even funny.
She was parched, like a shriveled up prune.
Prune. It's a lifelong journey, girl.
Get it, girl.
I thought this piano was gonna make me feel like somebody, but all it did was remind me of where I'm not.
Patty cake, get your man.
Everything's out of my control. Even with Lyft, I don't control where I go. No, I don't want to take you and your friends to Palm Springs. It's Tuesday. Have you had something to eat today? No.
You want me home. I get you what you want. Superstar status. You want me alone.
Are we gonna be okay?
But I don't want you waiting around for me.
Mom, I'm really not pressed to be dating right now. I'm just focusing on me.
Well, by the time you're married, maybe your daddy could roll you down the aisle because he'll be in a wheelchair, because he'll be old, Molly.
I don't want you waiting too long.
I just want to fast forward to the part of my life when everything's okay.
If you knew the end was coming, how would you make the most of your time left?
Now I see you was the one playing chess, moving bishops and shit. I'm all like, I don't know what bishops do. It's a difficult game.
See, I'm a star. Look at me from afar. Haunting me down to earth when you nesting on Mars.
How would you want to be remembered?
Don't act like I'm average. You want me home.
Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to talk to the wonderful, wonderful cast and creatives responsible for the long-running HBO hit show, Insecure. We're going to start things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on today's roundtable, beginning with Thomasina Farr in Philadelphia, our facilitator, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Mercedes Springer, who is somewhere in the world, can't reveal where. She's in a jungle, for real. Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Sharonda Williams in Atlanta, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, and KB in Houston. I'm gonna let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
Hi, Sharonda Williams, Peer Wait. I want to kick this question off to Prentice and Issa. After wrapping up, Insecure, I wanted to know for you, what are some of the lessons learned that you had from starting the series to where you've ended now, as to how you're going to navigate the industry going forward?
Lessons are just to, as corny as it sounds, kind of believe in myself and my voice, and also not be afraid to lean on people for their expertise. I think that balance between like understanding your vision and also trusting the expertise of others is something that I will continue to carry with me, in addition to like valuing people's points of view. Princess, what is this laugh?
No, ma'am, I'm all in on what you're saying. I think it's good.
Doesn't look like it. It looks like you're laughing like you don't trust me, bitch. But,
no, she only shaded me and said that I'm not gonna say hello to her.
Oh, of course. Shona with the side take. But yeah, I think that's something that I am happy to take with me to every project.
I think for me, I think one of the two things that really stuck out, obviously, was it was the first time in a long time that I had worked with a lot of more than one other Black person in like the last 7 years before I got there. So for me, the thing I want to take forward is one, just that will never happen in anything that I'll ever like do again. It's obviously it's different when you're on staff and you don't control the thing, but I was like, that just will never happen on anything that I'm a part of again. And I think the other thing it just reminded me was when I read the pilot that, I had come from like a network side, which it can kind of be a grind after a while. And reading the script, it just reminded me of like why I wanted to do this in the beginning. And it was just a thing of just writing something that just felt really true and authentic to you. And just don't forget that this is supposed to be fun. And when I read the script, and when I worked with Issa and Melina, it's always just been fun. And I think we forget that sometimes in our business, that because we get caught in the business of stuff. And it just reminded me that the world we're in is to create and to be playful and to get back to that thing. I was like watching my niece and she was coloring like a cactus pink. And I almost asked her, why is she coloring it pink? And I just stopped myself because I was like, it doesn't matter. She just wants to, she's not thinking that far down the road about the cactus. It's just in the moment, it feels right. And I was like, that's a lesson that the show has taught me. It's like, just kind of go, don't forget that this is all supposed to be fun and playful and creative, and never lose that part as you're going through the business.
Thank you so much.
KB here with Through the Lens of Lady KB, and my question is for Issa. So I know this may be hard to pinpoint or narrow down, specifically because you have created the show, written on the show, and you also act in it. But what episode are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of season 4, episode 8, just because of the time that it aired. We were all, and first of all, hello. And Sharana, thank you for your wonderful background. That aired during the time when we were just very nervous about putting anything out. We felt like, do we even promote this? Because we go hard on Sundays just to promote the show and live tweet and encourage other people to do so. And, to air in the middle of these racial uprisings felt almost selfish and unessential, and so for that episode to come out and be the source of healing for so many people, like that timing just felt right. And I still marvel at the fact that it was that specific episode in a season of messy episodes that chose to air during that time, or that happened to fall. And so that felt very special, and to be to provide a moment of solace during such a painful time, I'm very proud of.
Hello, my name is Thomasina. My site is Music Movies Thoughts. Congrats on a successful 5-season run, first of all. I want to say the last time that I related to a show featuring African-American women comedically with showing their growth and insecurities was Girlfriends, which we know was very long ago. The characters are just amazing and insecure, and it reminds me of Girlfriends a bit. I'm wondering, I still binge it. In years to come, what would you like the legacy of the show to be, its lasting impact? And I want to ask that question to all of you.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Y'all don't give a fuck about the show's impact. I think that I would love for, like what you said, for people to tie their memories to it. Like with a show like Girlfriends is iconic, and I think about the 90s shows that shaped me and that I have very specific memories around. And I want that for our show. I want people to remember a time in their lives fondly or very specifically, and to hold us with their own growth, to take the show into their lives as a part of their own personal experiences, and their own journeys.
For me, I think what when you think about legacy, I always think that's for other people to figure out, you know what I mean? And I think for me, when you're saying like Girlfriends and shows, growing up was like Cosby Show for me. And like, it was the first time that I felt that I had sort of seen my family on screen, the conversations that my family were having about college or just Black life. Like my mother was a lawyer, so I could really relate to Claire. Just the things she would say was it just was like, oh yes, this is my life on screen. Like different than growing up and watching also like Good Times and shows where we're like struggling a lot. It was the first time that we were sort of watching Black affluence be happening, and going to college was not even a conversation. It was supposed to be, you're supposed to do. So there were all the things I was going through. So it just made me feel that like seeing my life on screen was possible. So what I would hope is that somebody now is watching Insecure and will believe that they can put their lives on the screen too. So that's what I would hope, that they would be inspired, that they could do the same thing that I felt inspired to by somebody else's show. Gianna.
I love that you mentioned Girlfriends, because I think about that a lot when I'm costume designing Insecure, because I will never forget Joan's t-shirt. I'll never forget the conversation around the Tiffany's ring. And those are things that have really stuck out to me when I watch shows and when I binge watch Girlfriends. And so when I get to work with 4 incredibly beautiful, talented women and dress them, I hope that other people feel like the love and the attention that we put into every single costume and how well thought out it is and how intentional it is and how it supports the storyline. And I also feel like I hope that people see themselves kind of in how the show is designed and just like how much time and effort and like love is put into those little moments, and that in a few years they remember Issa's costume or Molly's costume, and how that made them feel and how it made them feel to see well-dressed Black women on TV.
Hi. So I am all about the hair, of course. And for me, I felt really, really proud when people would write in and they would be on Twitter and Instagram and they would replicate a lot of Issa's hairstyles that we created for each season. And a lot of women felt inspired, no matter what length of hair they had, they felt good seeing Issa start off with short hair and watching her hair grow with her character and her style and her look. And so I feel like that became iconic for me and what I do. And I had no idea that that would happen, being the hairstylist to Issa Rae or Issa D on Insecure. So I'm really proud that a lot of women found inspiration and hope with their natural hair.
I just wanted to being involved in the music, you know, I think that I'm hopeful that the music and the playlist that, you know, Issa's curated through this show will live on, you know, in people's lives, just like the show will, but something that people can take with them, you know, in their car, on their run, and, you know, continue to have as a part of their lives. And then, of course, remind them of moments in the show, but also connect with them in their real lives and in their day-to-day lives. And, you know, be something that people, you know, use to remember the show.
Hi everyone, Katya Woods, Cup of Soul Show. One of the things that I really appreciate that this show tackled with is friendships amongst women. We have friends that have been with us since our childhood. We have our girlfriends from college, and then we have our friends that served us for a moment. And for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't love them. We are at the crossroads and it's time for us to part. Talk a little bit about, for the women on this show, even, you know, doing clothes and doing all of that, what that was like to have a hand in having something, discussing something that we don't often talk about enough, because it's always about, we have to love each other, we have to stay in the friendship because it's been around for so long. I feel like the show gave us permission to say, you know what, I love you, but we got to keep it moving. And Issa, you can start.
Thank you. I think for us, we've always been clear about the fact that this is a show about Issa and Molly's love story. And also clear about the fact that we weren't interested in making them frenemies, like, you know, like Girls Before Us had done. And I have to credit Prentice with the opening of season 4, where he just, you know, had the idea of like coming in on Issa saying that she doesn't fuck with Molly anymore. And that led to a larger discussion about friendship breakups and how we as women don't necessarily have a place or a platform where we can mourn those friendship breakups properly. Like they don't get the same attention as romantic breakups. And that, you know, led to so many confessions in the room about, you know, personal stories of friendship breakups. And I know that I could identify, you know, twofold. And so that was an interesting story for us to show on television, even down to like putting romantic songs to their breakup, you know, that were reserved for, you know, actual romantic relationships. So that was something that was a bit cathartic to showcase on television. And, you know, the response was really positive in terms of people relating to its depiction.
I was about to talk and then I realized I was on mute. Like one thing we always try to do in the room is if things get us excited, that we believe it'll get other people excited. And if it's not exciting, then Issa or somebody will chime in with a very loud, boring, who cares? and it's real. It's like, yeah, okay. But that question felt, I don't know, just interesting. And it felt like, one thing that Issa and I always try to do is like, let each season build on previous seasons, right? And like, where would they naturally be based on like season 2? A lot of it was like, know better, do better because of the mistakes they had made in season 1. So you can't just now there's ramifications for things. So we always try to build on it, and this season felt like, okay, what is it like when you're trying to grow and move forward? But yet, like the pro of Molly and Issa knowing each other so well is they just have such a shorthand, right? But the con is that they know where all their bodies are buried. They know all the dirt. And sometimes you're like trying to grow, but if somebody's kind of reminding you maybe of who you were, it's tough to do that. And so it just felt like an interesting question to dive into for all of our characters. Once we did that for Issa and Molly, it became, well, all these relationships, are they a reason, a season, or a lifetime? And that became so specific to Andrew or to Lawrence or to Nathan or to a job or to a career or to this or to that. And so it just yielded so many other interesting questions out of it. But again, the core of the show is like their love story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this gift and, for seeing us with all our imperfections.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn First. So here's what happened and Carolyn Talks podcast. So this is a question for everyone, and we can begin with Issa. And as you mentioned, the show is about the friendship between Issa and Molly, and it's about, you talked about breaking up and how relationships change over time. I wanted to ask each of you, how has the show changed the way you perceive friendships in your own relationships, personally and also professionally? Because the show does talk about how the relationship changes once profession starts to get into it, and that's created a lot of strife between them. So how has that changed you as professionals and also as people in your own daily lives?
It's so interesting because when the show first came out, it was very aligned with who I identify with, just as a person. I think I was a little bit older than the character and in a different place. But the response to her of just like, oh my gosh, she's such a bad friend. She's so narcissistic, ha ha ha, like all these things. I was like, oh, okay. Am I missing something? Am I missing a part of me that like I didn't see before in my own friendships? And so it's definitely made me more self-aware in how I treat my friendships, how I value my friendships, how I value the people in my life. And especially this past season has just made me super cognizant about like the relationships that do serve me, how I'm serving those relationships in the best way. And it did the same for my friends. I always joke about how my actual best friend who Molly was based off of reached out to me during season 4, like, hey, are we cool? Because I don't like all this. And they're really coming from Molly, which means they're coming from me in a way. So are we okay? And we were.
I think for me, it's kind of impacted things in 2 ways. One, I think initially, I think it made me, and having worked on the show like Girlfriends, I don't think I was like mature enough to really understand this as like a young husband. But now as an older husband, it has made me more aware when my wife is talking about her friendships and just wanting to listen. A lot of times I'd be like, yeah, we'll just do this. We'll just do that. Like, and I was like, oh no, it's not that simple. There's a lot of complexities to it, and let me just be a better listener in some ways, as being in the inner workings of hearing the Black women in our room talk about like specific friendships and their stories. And I think last season in particular, like Lisa was saying, it definitely made me, I have 2 friends I've been friends with since I was 4 and 7 that I'm still friends with to this day, really tight. And it just made me more appreciative that like these friendships don't come along every day, and you have to be very intentional about them. And I'm sure the pandemic put a lot of that things in perspective, but it just made me want to be a better friend with intention. And obviously we all have a lot of things going on in our lives, but it just really was like those friendships don't come along every day, like Issa and Molly and like the ones with my friends. And so it just made me be more aware of like the people that are in your life, make sure they know why they're in your life in that way.
Shiona, Kieran, Felicia?
Sure, I'll talk about it. For me, I think I have also a group of close friends that I've been friends with since high school and middle school, and along with appreciating those friendships are, special and rare maybe, that also understanding that there's kind of seasons in those relationships, and that, we go in and out of being closer or, having tension, and but appreciating that, those pass, and that there will be good times again, and there will be tough times, and that, that you can be close. You can still maintain that, relationship with somebody, because those people probably understand you in a way that nobody else understands you, and have been through experiences with you that, help you guys understand each other. And so I think I've kind of learned about, having patience for those moments, and appreciating, the longevity of having those people in your life.
So for me, I have a whole different perspective when I watch Insecure. I see the realness and the truth in each episode, every season, because it's been part of my life growing up, the friends that have come and gone. The perspective that I tend to take is I have to watch it like 4 times, because the first 3 times I'm busy finding what imperfections I've done. I'm like, wait, that baby hair is not right, or that hair is out of place, or so I don't get to like sit and enjoy it the first time the way everybody else does. I have to like watch it again and again and again and get past everything I wanted to do different, or wanted to change. Of course you can't change once it's out. So it's always me looking at how can I be better the next season or the next time, but each story, every storyline, right down to the relationships, have been a part of every aspect of my life, for sure.
I have the, benefit and blessing of working with one of my best friends on the show, Melina Matsoukas. And so we talk a lot about the friendships on screen, and also kind of our friendship working together. And we disagree a lot about, is Issa right? Is Molly right? They're bad friends. Like, how could they be better friends? It should have went down like this. And so I think that one of the most important lessons I've learned, or how it's shaped my friendships, is not just kind of reflecting on how I treat people and how I treat my friends, but also how I work with my friends. Because for the past few years, I've been able to get up and go to work with not just people that I enjoy working with and admire, but people that I actually love. And being on set all day is not easy. And so if I get like snappy or a temper, Melina will like give it right back. And so I realized that just like not only to value my friendships, but also value my friendships at work. And I don't think that I will be able to have this environment ever again in my career. I mean, hopefully I do, but to be able to collaborate with other Black people, specifically Black women, sorry, Prentice, but I think that is, it's an experience that I don't take for granted. And I've walked away from this show with deeper friendships and more friends in LA and just like in this industry. And I'm super grateful for that.
Great. Thank you so much. And congratulations on the successful 5 seasons.
Hi, everyone. Mercedes here with She Critiques based in Atlanta. My question is for Issa and Apprentice. Well, first of all, I want to say that the show itself is such a culturally impactful show. And I think that's because it's just so authentic to the Black experience. So thank you for that. But I want to know, as far as the writer's room, coming into this last season, how did you approach this season? What was the intention behind it? And what do you want viewers to take away?
Our intention behind it, I think initially we didn't do that much. I mean, it was the first time we were in a virtual room. So obviously you're just trying to get your bearings in terms of, so much of the kind of special sauce kind of happens just in between work that you kind of put into the show. But obviously I think we felt in the beginning a lot of, I won't say pressure, but certainly HBO has a thing of certainly ending shows, right? And people having strong thoughts about how shows end, especially obviously on HBO. And so we wanted to obviously end the show in a way that we felt worthy of the show. And it was just a lot of pressure, I think, that we were feeling on, like, how do we land these planes? And then one of our EPs, Amy Aniobi, brought up a great point one day. She was like, look, like these characters, like we're not really landing a plane. The characters' lives will continue on in imagination. We're just getting out of the plane right now. They're going to continue on. So like, if they're continuing on, what would be interesting places to like start season 6 from? And that really freed us up to like not have to like, oh, what's the final thing? Because we had kind of vacillated and stuff, and would just kind of sometimes run into roadblocks. But once we did that, it really kind of, untangled that process for us in a really great way. And we could just sort of write things that felt really interesting and authentic to the characters. And again, but also giving them good send off as well. So that was that's what was different more than any other season. But I was so thankful that we had all the writers that we've basically had from season 4 and a lot who have been with the show from the beginning, because I can't imagine trying to finish this season without having people that knew the show, have been with the show for a long time. So it's really a testament to all the writers in the room who helped us like finish the show for sure.
He said, like, nope.
He said it so well. I don't have much more to say than that. He says it best. But thank you for your compliment in the beginning too.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Ray Cornelius here with Upfront inside the entertainment industry. So happy for you, Issa. I remember so many moons ago meeting you, and to see you now, it's amazing. Congratulations on a successful show. This question is for you and for Prentice. You've spent so much time with this character, again, 5 seasons, you've imagined or created this world. Was there something that you did not get to accomplish for the character that you wish you could have accomplished for her? And that's a question for you and for Prentice as well as one of the writers. Is there something that you wish you would have been able to do with her that you weren't able to do?
I feel very satisfied with the character of Issa, specifically this season. I think that when you look at her journey from season 1, you can't deny the growth. So in that way, I'm very satisfied, but there are so many things that I would have done with other characters and more side characters than our main characters that, I'm like gonna kick myself for. And I know the audience will kick us for with those last 4 episodes.
Yeah, I agree with Issa. I don't think there's anything that I feel like we didn't do or explore either. Sometimes we just didn't really have maybe the runway, or it just didn't really work out, but it never felt like we made a misstep in terms of what we felt was interesting for us. You know what I mean? I think that there's things that I agree with Issa, like side characters we wish we could have, dove more into, or certainly like sometimes we'd have concept episodes that we just couldn't figure out conceptually. And it was like, oh, this is like we had a whole like Memento going backwards thing, but it was just so much A Beautiful Mind miss that we just couldn't crack it. So it was stuff like that we were like, oh, like conceptually stuff. But I don't think there's anything, at least I agree with Issa, that we felt we didn't do for Issa or Molly or Lawrence.
Thanks again for the 5 seasons. And this show really was a mood, because I can tell you during COVID, which was very, very scary, when the season came back, and just to see how beautifully shot it was and just how everything looked, I was like, it took me somewhere else that was different. And I so needed that at that moment. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate that.
Saying that, thank you.
Okay, because social media is involved in this, what are the most surprising moments from the audience? And what do you most want us to see? Can't wait for us to see in season 5.
You're asking what are the most surprising moments from the audience, like throughout the series?
Yeah. Like what are the moments that surprise you, like people's reactions?
Lawrence Hive as a movement surprised the shit out of me. I just didn't know there were so many men who felt that way, who were that invested. And the variations on Condola's name. Like, I feel very proud of like that we have our own Kinu Kentucky Fried Chicken, like, you know, of the different world times, you know, because I remember how much that meant to me and how much that amused me watching A Different World and Dwayne Wade's mom, like, fucking up Kinu's name. So the fact that we get to have that ourselves in this generation is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think I was surprised by, yeah, all of those are great. Two things I was really surprised by. One, that people really did not believe Dro was in an open marriage, even to this day, and that was 3 seasons ago. They be like, I didn't see it. I was like, this is crazy. He calls Candace from Molly's bed in the morning and says, I'm with Molly. I was like, where does Candace think he at with Molly doing what in the bed? So anyway, whatever. That was one thing, and I think I was really surprised. I think we were all really surprised in the room of how much people season 4 really just went in on Molly. And we in the room were always taking like the full body of the seasons and kind of saying, okay, what's the right amount of like 50-50? And I think if we look back, we probably didn't take into account, oh, well, obviously Issa's the star of our show, and like so much of the lens is through her. And if the audience never had to pick before, but if they had to pick, they're more than likely going to pick the person who we've been following. But I think, so in hindsight, maybe we should have skewed it more 60-40 Issa's fault or 70-30. But that was one of the things that really shocked me. I was like, wow, people saying Molly's a toxic friend. And we were like, whoa, this is some other stuff happening here. But I think those were the two things that I think really surprised me.
I want to chime in. I was surprised that Issa and Lawrence had a date that was epic and beautiful, and the lighting was amazing, and it was just so romantic. And just to see them together again, I think everybody screamed when they saw that, because they wanted it. Even if they said they didn't, they wanted to see them back together. They wanted to see them entangled together. So I really like that.
We just had Issa had an amazing weekend. Just to piggyback Felicia's point, had an amazing weekend of like watch party stuff, and we were all together watching that episode again, and people were like screaming and cheering as if it had not happened. They don't know what's about to happen, and it was like they were watching it again for the first time. So I would agree, Felicia, that moment is really, again, something that you just don't know is gonna like set it off like that, but you're just like, yeah, I fully agree.
Here, what's the most popular song from, like, Insecure has so many great songs. What's been the biggest one?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, I've been thinking about moments or whatever that I remember, that were impactful, but the most popular song, it would probably have to be SZA Supermodel, that was on the show and then, had a really big run, on radio and charts and stuff like that. So, but there were so many, moments. Obviously, Broken Pussy is a huge, moment from the show that everyone's going to remember forever. And will always think about, first, probably when they think about the show. So, those may be the two most impactful ones.
Okay, finally, hairstyle, costume, and that's it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Hairstyle and costume, and that's it.
Like the most impactful ones?
I think that people, when Issa first season, she had short hair. And I remember, the kids making fun of her hair. There were so many responses and comments where women identify with that moment and that feeling and that what we call the big chop, or TWA, teeny weeny afro. And so I think the beginning of the show, showing that and having Issa be so raw and just unapologetic about her hair being short, or, you know, an afro, to me made a huge impact. It was huge. I think also there was a moment where you saw Issa go through a trilogy of different hairstyles as she was reflecting on her relationship with Lawrence and marriage and baby. And that was also a really big moment. And it was big too, because Issa and I, we had to change the hair in a very short amount of time, a lot of times. And make sure that Prentice and everybody was happy and she was back on set and ready to go. So those moments are the ones that I remember people writing about the most and duplicating and asking, how was it done, you know? So yeah.
For costumes, I mean, there's so many, but I think last season, there was a lot of online reaction specifically to Molly's wardrobe in general, and especially the when they went to Mexico. So I feel like that episode overall, a lot of the costumes stood out and it was really fun to design. I actually started on Insecure midway through season 3, and something that I inherited that the previous costume designer did a really amazing job of starting was like Issa's t-shirts and the conversations and the social impact that they had. And she really used it to start conversations about, you know, politics and fashion and beauty. And that was a really fun challenge to continue or to keep up. And I noticed that like the audience, they really responded well to that. Last season as well, everyone loved the red top that Issa wore on her Lawrence date. And I'm happy that they did, because it was not the smoothest shirt. And we had to do a lot to make sure that it was looking good the whole episode, but I was really pleased with how it looked and how many people loved it and how many people still ask me about it now.
Thank you guys, that was great.
Hi, Kathy, once again, Couple Soul. I specifically want to ask Felicia and Simone about not just the costuming. There's been very specificity around Black women's hair, natural, utilizing Black women's hair, or making sure when it is wigs that it's, you know, properly and flattering. What is your philosophy on that, Felicia? And for you, Simone, also a push, do you feel certain pressure to include, or is it your philosophy to say we're going to include Black designers and you know, as far as you know, Molly and just her presentation as a lawyer? Talk a little bit about your approach, and Felicia, you can start.
So I was really happy that Issa, you know, gifted me with the opportunity to showcase my talent. I am a natural hairstylist. I do textured hair. And, you know, there are people who love textured hair and there are people who are like, it's too many things going on with that. So to be able to showcase natural hair and make it look easy, you know, and watch women recreate it like it was easy, made me feel extremely proud. And so as we went forward with each season, I always thought about the women who watched the show and them having natural hair and feeling inspired. It was also a really big deal that I was able to use a lot of African-American products on Issa. You would see that in the background in her bathroom and in different places, that we were able to represent these mom and pop products that were created by Black women, and show you that, yeah, this is a true thing. This is natural hair. We're using natural products. And so I felt like it was just an ode to to natural hair and to our heritage, to our ancestry. And natural hair is a movement. It's like it's a vibe. It's got its own thing happening. And there were women who specifically would go love the show, but we're looking for the next hairstyle, you know. And so that was definitely a proud moment for me.
Shiona, what about you? I apologize for butchering your name. What about you as far as the design aspect? You know, were you saying, you know, I want to incorporate pieces by African-American designers because, you know, we do streetwear, but we also do high end when it comes to some of those pieces. Or did you feel like people were volunteering as the show became more successful to work with you and say, hey, we'd love for you to feature that on the show?
We get a lot of outreach from brands, but we really make it a focal point to make sure that we include Black designers, small designers on every single episode. So every single episode, we make sure to include a Black designer in some capacity. We make sure that Issa's regular jewelry that she wears like really often is always from a Black designer. Last year, one of the biggest like moments was our use of the Telfar bag, and it was known kind of in a really small fashion community in New York, and being able to put a small brand that we knew and loved on a show that has as much impact as Insecure, and to watch the reaction of the audience and the orders and how many people like wanted this Telfar bag was really special, because it showed me kind of the bigger picture and just how much impact and influence we can have by supporting small designers and small brands and helping them to grow. So it's bigger than us, you know. In my costume department, it's like we have a social responsibility to make sure that we are helping and supporting other people and other brands. So there's not one episode where we don't make sure to make a conscious effort to support Black designers. And even when we submit costumes for approval, we'll make sure to say, here's choice 1, 2, or 3, and just want to make sure everybody knows that choice number 2 is a Black designer. And it might not always work for like the scene or the action, but we are very intentional about that, because if we don't do it for each other, who's going to do it for us?
Thank you, ladies.
Hi, Sharonda again, and this question is for Shiona, Kira, and Felicia. First of all, the music stays on point. The costumes and the hair, I didn't spend a whole bag trying to just elevate my style, because after watching the episodes, I was just like, I'm not giving what it needs to be given right now. So I just want to thank you and say I'm upset at the same time. But I want to know about, what does that preparation look like for, you know, constantly having to elevate your craft as the characters that you're dressing or styling, or the music that you're providing, as it's evolving through all of the different circumstances that they go through each season?
I'll start. I am a Virgo and a perfectionist. And so I already have that kind of pressure within myself. And I'm sure Issa can let you know that I always want to do a fitting, and I always want to see another option. And I always naturally want to outdo myself, but my background was in editorial styling. And so this was my first opportunity that Issa and Prentice gave me, and they took a chance on me to start costume designing. And that put a lot of pressure on my craft to begin with, because it was a different way of styling and a different way of storytelling through clothing. But one of the most important lessons I learned is, like, as much fantasy as I want to give and as like much I want to push, the story comes first, and I'm there to kind of support the script and the story and these characters' growth and their development. Fortunately, you see this season, they are kind of changing, and the clothes get to support that in a really beautiful way that I'm happy with, and I hope the audience is happy with. But it naturally, I feel like my craft has developed, especially in the space of costume design, because of the opportunity that I was given.
So I'm a Capricorn. And basically, it's like being a Virgo. I would literally have just a bunch of images in my head. Sometimes I would like sketch out hairstyles. I would wake up in my bed with like papers of hairstyles around me just because I fell asleep trying to figure out like, what am I going to do next? And I realized after season 1, when there was a season 2 and a season 3 and a season 4, I had to bring it each time. So I had to be ready to bring it. And the biggest part of what I do is that Issa also collabs with me. I've had so much freedom on Insecure, and I'm super grateful because Melina gave me a lot of freedom, Prentice gave me a lot of freedom, Issa gave me a lot of freedom to create. And towards, I want to say maybe in 3 and 4 is when Issa and I would get together because her look changed. She matured. And then we started to collab the look together to make sure that we took her to the next level to meet the fashion and the makeup and the character and everything that was going on. So my process started as soon as the show was over for the next season, the next time, like, what are we going to do next? And it became really exciting to try to figure it out and to create something, or to take a simple thing like a ponytail and add a little something to it to give it that little oomph. So then when Shiona brought the clothes, it just was a total look. So the process for me was always right when we finished one season, going to the next season, even though we hadn't started, I was on starting, working on the styles.
Yeah, I think similar to Shiona and Felicia, bringing that pressure on myself to bring, something really special to the show, and putting, making sure that the music was always on point from the beginning. I had been fortunate to work on the show with HBO before, and I knew the attention that those shows get in press and in culture, and wanted to make sure that we were bringing it on the show and making sure that Issa's vision for having this dope soundtrack was going to be fulfilled. And also working with people like Issa and Melina and Solange, who were there, and Raphael Sadiq there in the beginning, who are all have amazing taste, and music was really important to them. To make sure that, I was helping to bring that out and make sure that that was all on screen and in the show. And then, of course, after the first season, I was really always collecting music for the show. And every time, things that people would send me, or I would be out just searching and hearing about things, I would, start collecting and being ready for the next season and coming in with a big batch of new music. But it was also great that the show progressed and gave different opportunities, whether it was different story points or a different style of a montage maybe, or something that, where the editors were kind of developing and the directors developing the style of the show, gave us opportunities to use maybe a different type of music or something a little bit different that we hadn't done before. And I think there's kind of been those moments in every season. And, there's some great moments in season 5 that I think, have a little bit different kind of flavor to them than what we've done in the past. So, just always trying to have fun with it and expose and be this platform for great artists, and always kind of give people something exciting to be listening for.
Well, thank you for telling me to get my life together in all areas, respectfully.
So you talked a little bit about, the process of collecting the music and showcasing new artists. So for you, who are the top 3 artists or songs that you were most excited to showcase on the show over the course of the last 5 seasons?
Oh, wow. The top ones, I think SZA, Quicksand, the original song that she wrote for us, was really exciting, for me to be a part of, having her do an original song and being able to bring that to the show. that was really great. There's moments that kind of have stood out to me. I think like Thundercat, Heartbreaks and Setbacks, which is in the end of the second episode, was, I think he was such an important artist to the sound of the show and kind of establishing that early on. And then I guess, I don't know, the one that keeps sticking out to me is LaKelly Girl Blunt in the Coachella episode, with that amazing montage at the pool party. There's just so many moments, but that one keeps, raising its hand for me as just a really quintessential moment.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely adore the music on the show. I mean, it's one of my favorite parts because you guys really seem to nail each scene and each song like intentionally. So thank you for that.
I don't really know what else can be said, but thank you for 5 wonderful seasons and showcasing my hometown in such an amazing way. Thank you, Issa and Prentice and Kier and Felicia and Tarini. It's been wonderful. And on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics and television, we wish you luck, much success, and know that we'll be here for you every step of the way. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.